Hello, I'm Dr Jodi Richardson, and you're listening to Well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Hello, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Well, Hello Anxiety Summer Series. It's such a pleasure to be back with you here today. I'm recording this on New Year's Day 2022. I decided to record the summer series over 3 days so that I can take a lovely break with my family and practice what I preach, having some time to down tools, move away from spending time online, and also making things easier for my podcast producer to get all her edits done so she can enjoy a lovely break as well. So planning ahead always helps with these things. I must say that today is the first day of the new year, and I think many of us are really happy to see the back of 2021. And I must admit, the event last night we had, which was so fun, you will have known from last week's episode that we were off to Friends for a swim, and that's what we did. And we had a fantastic time. But unfortunately, our daughter started to really go downhill. And I think it was just really a result of the heat because it was very hot, high 30 degrees Celsius yesterday. It's very hot again today here in Melbourne. And unfortunately, just to sort of round out the joys of 2021, I had to leave the event early, bring her home and look after her here. She eventually fell asleep, but she was not feeling too good, poor little possum. So the rest of the family enjoyed New Year's Eve, seeing in the new year at the pool party, and I hit the hay at 11:30. So I hope that that's the 2021 that we'd really rather see the back of. Certainly, challenged me right through to the very end. So new year and a fresh start. So today in the summer series, I'm talking to you about a topic that's very dear to my heart. And those of you who know me well know that I've exercised my whole life, and it's been an inherent way that I've managed my anxiety since childhood, long before I knew that I had anxiety to manage. And it's something that right through into my adult years, I've maintained in one form or another on a really regular basis. What we know when it comes to anxiety is that there is a clear connection between how much you exercise and how much anxiety you feel. But you don't have to do what I do. I love my exercise, always have. And as you know, I attend CrossFit 3 times a week, and I am now playing basketball with my awesome new basketball team. And we play a game a week and we train. And on other days, I'll just get out and have incidental exercise, walking the dog or shooting hoops or playing outside with the kids. But when it comes to exercise, it's so important that you find what works for you. And last week's episode, I spoke about values, and I spoke about making decisions based on, what your future self will thank you for, what really lights you up, what makes you feel like you're really living your best life day to day by making small decisions. And we can really improve our happiness, our mental health, and our quality of life by making decisions in alignment with our values. And if that's helpful for you to apply when it comes to bringing more exercise into your days, then I'd really encourage you to make that connection. Maybe you're already exercising regularly. I know a lot of people who listen to the podcast exercise on a regular basis. I also know, as I mentioned in last week's episode, that it's one of, if not the top New Year's resolution. It's something that most people want to include more of in their life, and many people find hard to bring into their life and also equally to sustain. And that's why gyms can sell a lot of memberships, far more memberships than the gym can hold in terms of numbers, knowing and relying on the fact that a lot of people just won't go along. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of exercise as medicine for anxiety. And I want to share with you some of the background as to why it makes such a difference. I'm the sort of person that when I understand why something makes a difference, why something's impactful, why it's important to avoid something or make a choice to do more of something, once I understand the reasoning, it compels me more to make a better choice about whether or not to include something or exclude something or limit something in my life. It doesn't always have to be all or nothing. When it comes to the science around exercise, what we know is that finding a form of movement that gives you a sense of self and makes you feel empowered is really important. Some people love to lift weights. I'm one of them. We feel strong when we lift, and we feel more resilient and empowered because of it. And you know that you can do hard things when you build up over time to be able to lift heavy weights, to be able to move your body in that way. Some people love to run. My mum loves to walk and run. And, running can give a real sense of freedom and a real sense of space and a real sense of agency. You might love to dance. You might love to do a yoga class, whether that's in your own home or with other people. That's something to consider as well. I love to exercise with other people. My husband, Peter, he does all of his exercise individually, except for his cricket, which he's really enjoying. We know from the research also that no matter what age you are, no matter your gender, your health status, your socioeconomic status, no matter where you are in life and your life circumstances, you can benefit from exercise. And I'll talk at the end of the podcast about the prescription, about how much to do. But we always prescribe that people who are exercising, first of all, check with their GP, check with your GP to make sure that you're in a safe and fit state to bring exercise into your life and start small. I know from the research, I also know from my work in a clinical setting, working with patients as an exercise physiologist. I know from my own personal experience and that of many other people that I have worked with and spoken with over the years, that exercise improves your life not only in terms of your mental health, but in terms of your physical health and your happiness. So there are so many good reasons to do it. We know that people who exercise have better relationships and are happier. You've also got less risk of depression, which we know can become a part of life when you experience anxiety. And it can give you a sense of more meaning in your life, particularly when you do exercise with other people. We were born to move. We were born to move. Every aspect of our day requires movement. And the old adage, move it or lose it, does ring true over time. We know that as people age and can't use their limbs in the way that perhaps they once could, that they just grow weaker. Muscles atrophy or atrophy when we don't use them. They hypertrophy when we do, which means they grow bigger. And of course, as they grow bigger, they grow stronger. We know that exercise helps people develop a more optimistic outlook on life, and it encourages us to be more cooperative with other people. It also gives us more hope. So, they're just a few of the reasons that exercise makes a difference. We know that on a larger scale perspective, that exercise can be a distraction from anxiety and from worries and from rumination. One of the things I like to talk about a lot when I'm presenting around anxiety is the idea of getting out of your head and into your body to break that cycle of rumination and worry. And this is one of the brilliant ways that exercise can really play an important role. We also know that it builds resilience in the brain and that it changes our brain chemistry. When we exercise, our brain and our nervous system are different to the nervous systems and brains of people who don't. And we can see this in the data. We absolutely thrive when we're active. And you may not love the idea of moving, and moving might be hard for you. And so there's lots of help available as well. Exercise professionals, exercise physiologists, physiotherapists. There are a lot of people that you can turn to, and I'll share some ways that you can connect with people who can help you bring exercise into your life towards the end of the podcast as well. And you can check out any of these resources that I share in the show notes, of course. We know that when people exercise, often they experience this real sense of euphoria, this sense of a runner's high, as we often know it. We know that exercise helps us actually, in terms of our brain chemistry, we release feel good neurotransmitters that impact our brain chemistry. But not everybody has this euphoric feeling when they finish exercising. Not everybody experiences that. And so don't put exercise aside if that's you. If you've not experienced that, you're not alone in that, but there will be other benefits that you will have been experiencing. And often these come from the release of endocannabinoids. Endocannabinoids, when they're released when we exercise, really just can generally help us feel better and help us have more of a sense of possibility in our lives and more of a sense of hope. And I challenge Anyone, particularly if you're not in pain, you're not experiencing any particular illnesses or physical ailments that make exercise painful for you, I challenge you to try doing some exercise and reflect on your mood and how you felt beforehand and compare that with how you feel afterwards. Just really reflect and start to identify with how exercise makes you feel. What are the benefits that you personally are getting from the exercise that you choose to do? We know that also from the research that any exercise that we do, and we know this from experience as well as from the science, exercise mimics the way the body changes when we exercise, mimics the feelings of anxiety. When we're anxious, our heart rate is increased, our breathing rate is increased. We start to perspire. We start to experience the muscle tension that comes with moving our bodies, whether we're running or whether or not we're lifting weights. Knowing the sensations that come, and when I did the episode Anxiety One-on-One, I talked a lot about all of the sensations that come with anxiety. What can often happen is when anxiety is bubbling up and we start to notice these sensations, we connect these sensations of increased heart rate, changes to our breathing, perspiration, muscle tension, even changes in our digestion. We can start to associate these with anxiety, which doesn't feel good. And then we can start to struggle with that. We don't want to feel that. That can make us feel awful. We don't like feeling anxiety. And what that struggle does is continue to fuel that anxious response. What exercise helps us do, one of the many benefits, is it helps us to reframe how we're feeling. Because when we exercise, our heart rate increases, our breathing rate increases, we develop muscle tension, we perspire. And so when we exercise and we start to experience all of these sensations that we usually link with anxiety, it enables us to reframe what's happening in our body. And we reinterpret those physical symptoms. And what that does is it decreases anxiety sensitivity. So we're less sensitive to the physical symptoms and we're less likely to, in a particular context, go down that rabbit hole of this is anxiety building, this feels awful, I want to stop this, what can I do? And then we can often end up engaging in unhelpful and unproductive practices to help relieve how we're feeling. But when we exercise and we experience all of that, we can really start to reframe it, think of it differently, and we also know that we can tolerate it. We know that when we're experiencing all of that in the context of exercise, we know that it bubbles up, we know why, and it settles back down. And so this reduction in anxiety sensitivity comes from that ability to really reinterpret those physical symptoms, because the physical symptoms of anxiety don't hurt us. What hurts us is when they stand in the way of us being able to do the things that we really want to do, the things that we have on our heart that we'd like to do, no matter how big, no matter how small. When it comes to changes in brain chemistry, we could talk for a long time about this, but I want to give you some of the insights into what happens in the brain and why exercise makes us feel so much better in terms of our mood, in terms of our sense of optimism, in terms of our want and need to connect with other people, in terms of our interactions with other people after we've been moving our bodies, and generally with our happiness and our quality of life. So, one of the things that occurs as a byproduct of exercise is tryptophan increases in the bloodstream. And tryptophan is a building block for serotonin. Serotonin is one of our feel good neurotransmitters. So we definitely want more of that. And so we know that exercise boosts serotonin, and serotonin is something that really does improve our mood. And anyone who's taking antidepressant medication or anti-anxiety medication, I'm on an antidepressant which acts as an anti-anxiety medication. I take a low dose. I take that daily, as you know, or people who've listened to the podcast will know. And what we know about that particular medication is it's an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I had a blank there for a moment. And we know that that means that the body doesn't break down the naturally produced serotonin as quickly, and it maintains levels of serotonin in the brain and enables us to be able to better manage our anxiety and use the skills and the strategies that we know work. So we naturally produce serotonin and we increase our serotonin production once we've been exercising. One of the other things that is increased when we exercise is BDNF, which is brain derived neurotropic factor. You are not going to be tested on this. BDNF is a protein which is often referred to as miracle grow for the brain. So it's a sort of fertilizer for brain cells, the neurons, strengthening them and helping them grow. BDNF also boosts memory, and BDNF equally boosts the production of serotonin. So not only are you getting the benefits for your mood, you're getting the benefits of a more resilient brain, stronger, more robust brain cells, memory production, which improves work life, study life, school life, and can be linked also with quality of life and happiness as well. We know also that inflammation in the brain will reduce our mood. So when our brains are inflamed, it reduces our mood, it increases anxiety, and it impacts our ability to really think clearly as well. And BDNF also works to fight inflammation in the brain. So really making those brain cells more resilient and fights that inflammation. So that therefore boosts mood and helps to reduce anxiety. So we want more BDNF. As well as exercise, we can increase BDNF through our diet, so through what we eat. So, one of the ways we can do that is through ingesting more omega 3 fatty acids through fish, through consumption of flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. Also, increasing the flavonoids in our diet, which is an antioxidant found in foods like green tea. I love my matcha. I love my matcha lattes. And so that's a conversation for another day. But I love green tea and the way that helps to sort of calm my nervous system. I do drink coffee. I have coffee every day, but I don't drink a lot of coffee, usually just one a day, maybe two on certain days, depending on what's going on. Berries contain flavonoids, kale, tomatoes, dark chocolate, and most nuts. So we can boost BDNF through our diet and, of course, also through exercise. One of the other things that we produce in our brain when we exercise is GABA, GABA, which is GABA aminobutyric acid. Again, no testing, but I think it's important to know that there are these amazing neurotransmitters that are produced when we exercise that make a really tangible difference to our mood and to our mental health. So, what GABA does is it's a neurochemical that really puts the brakes on our anxiety response. Some neurotransmitters in our brain will sort of be like putting on the accelerator, and others like GABA, it's like putting your foot on the brake, dialing back that anxiety response and helping to settle the nervous system. Another bonus of exercise is lowering that muscle tension that we get. So we know that when we get anxious, our muscles pretense in preparation for fight or flight. And it's funny when I've been doing a lot of Zoom presentations and I ask people to sort of really raise their shoulders. I'm going to ask you to do it now. Raise your shoulders right up to your ears and really tense those muscles through your neck and your shoulders. And it's a bit like sort of retreating into your turtle shell. And I always say, I knew that I was just making the most ridiculous face and it looks so funny. But I always say, please don't take a screenshot. Please don't take a screenshot. It's not my best look. But when you scrunch up your neck and your shoulders together and then you deliberately lower them down and relax them and you've pre-tensed those muscles and then you've relaxed them, that's progressive muscle relaxation. It really makes such a difference to lower that resting muscle tension. And we can do that from our toes to our nose. And I'll talk about progressive muscle relaxation in more depth in another episode. So what we know about exercise is that it lowers resting muscle tension. And in doing that, it actually interrupts that anxiety feedback loop to the brain. So when the body is more relaxed and the body is more calm, the brain is much less prone to worry. So these are just a few of the ways that exercise makes a profound difference to those of us with anxiety. Perhaps you're like me and you've always exercised, you've always known it made you feel good, and you didn't realize you were actually really managing your anxiety by doing that. It was just something that innately you came to find made a big difference in your life. If you are wondering about bringing exercise into your life, if you're a non-exerciser and you'd like to join the club, in the words of Dr. Mike Evans, if exercise is the medicine, what's the dose? Well, first and foremost, chat to your GP or your health professional before starting any new exercise program. If you haven't exercised in a long time, it's important just to get the nod from the doc just to make sure that you're where you need to be able to get started. And there might be certain exercises that are more suitable for you than others, depending on where you're at and what it is that you're experiencing in your life and in your body. Then you got to find something you like. That is really the key. I'm not going to say to you today, you must run, you must jog, you must walk, you must dance, you must cycle, you must swim. I'm not going to say that to you. What I'm going to say to you is try different exercises and see how you feel. Reflect on how you feel beforehand and try the exercise and reflect on how you feel afterwards and just start small. Choose something you enjoy, but choose something that really fits with your lifestyle. Next, what I'm going to say to you is start small and build up over time, build up in time, and build up in intensity. I would love you to be doing 2 minutes of exercise a day and maintain that for a few weeks and building that habit than trying to do 30 minutes a day, doing it for 3 days and then going, it's way too much. I'm just not able to get into the routine of this. So anytime, and I spoke about this again in last week's episode, we can start small, create a new habit, and build on that. It's building the habit, building the consistency. What I'd also like to suggest with you is that you can get benefits from aerobic exercise and higher intensity aerobic exercise can confer more benefits when it comes to our mental health, but not necessarily. Again, it's about building up over time. And strength training is another one. And Kelly McGonigal, I learned this recently from reading some of her work, in that when we brace our abdominal muscles, particularly when we're strength training, there's feedback from that bracing that sends messages to our brain to tell the brain we're safe, we've got this, we're okay. And what the brain interprets when we exercise and we're building a stronger body and we're able to hold ourselves in a stronger core is that we are strong, we are capable, we are resilient. And that is so important when it comes to managing our anxiety and also being able to move forward and do the things that are really hard, to do the things that are hard. And you know what? When you exercise, you're going to get hot. It's going to be uncomfortable. Your heart rate's going to go up. You're going to find discomfort in it and extreme discomfort, depending on what it is that you're doing. And you'll learn that you can do hard things and to live a life with anxiety, to live a rich and amazing and full life, not just the length, but the breadth of it as well. We need to be able to put ourselves out of our comfort zone and do that willingly, knowing we're going to feel a whole lot of discomfort, knowing that we can cope with it, knowing that it's better for us short term and also across our lifespan and into the future as well. One of the other things that you can do is seek the help of an accredited exercise professional. Here in Australia, we have essa.org.au, Exercise and Sports Science Australia. If you jump onto their homepage, you will be able to click through and find an accredited exercise professional in your area. One of the other things that you can do is chat to your GP. Your GP might also be able to advise you in this area. So I'll put notes in the show notes so that you can jump on that website and have a look. And I'll also put a link to an amazing book called Spark, written by John Ratey, and it's the revolutionary new science of exercise and the brain. So an amazing read if you'd like to dive in a little bit more deeply. And John Ratey is somebody I'd really dearly love to interview on the podcast down the track as well. So I want to thank you for your time. I really want to thank you for your time. It's a time when a lot of people are starting to bring new experiences, new challenges, and new routines into their life. Sometimes when you've got a little bit more time on the holidays, it's a good time to start. But any time you are listening to this episode is the perfect time to start. As they say, if not 20 years ago, today is the best day to get started on something new that's amazing for your health, your mental health, and your physical health, of course. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate all of the feedback I'm getting about the podcast. Thank you so much for the amazing reviews that are coming through. And I wish you well. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week. Okay, take care. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr Jodi Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.